All right, let's chop it up for an hour with Danny Parkins, former Chicago kid, lived his dream on the radio, left the city to go to FS1 because I talked him into it. That was part of it. And now I live in Chicago and I just jumped off the train. Taking the train from the Ogilvy Center to Winnetka is pure joy. Nobody bothers you. It's the best. Now the mornings are a little dicey, but I've been experimenting, Danny, for the first 3 weeks. I've been experimenting. I've discovered that Monday is not a bad traffic day. I'll take a driver. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are hell. I'll take the train. And weather screws everything up to make the drive even worse. Is that kind of the understanding in Chicago that Monday's the best drive day?
Oh man, so here's the thing. The Kennedy is just under this like unbelievable construction project right now that just makes
Yes.
everything hellacious. Like it was the thing I was most excited to leave Chicago about because I drove in, I drove myself, local radio. And drove in and drove out, and where my radio studio was nowhere near Ogilvy. And if I wanted to get home in time to see my little kids before bed, I needed to get on the road as fast as possible, as opposed to walking across the loop. So you're on it, but just so you know, it can change in a moment's notice. Like your 3 week sample size of the hellacious Chicago commute is not enough. Because the express lanes will be randomly closed at some point. They will do some other nonsense construction project that instead of 3 years will take seven. So, generally speaking, though, if you feel like you can do the Metra is great because you never will be bothered, Colin. You're like the most famous person in Chicago that isn't an athlete. So like these people that are commuting to the North Shore of Chicago, they're probably like, is that Colin Cowherd? No, it couldn't be. It's probably a banker. And then they'll just go on with their day. So I promise you, you will never be bothered.
Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. No, it's great. I've never taken the train. I've had friends in New York that did. I
Yeah.
mean, and people all walks of life, kids, college, successful, Wall Street, and they were always like, "Yeah, I read on the train." I listened to a Sam Harris pod today with Jake Tapper. I thought it was 33 minutes. I got through most of it. It was like, this is great. So I was like, I don't know. I always try to find the positive in stuff, and I was like, I'll listen to even more podcasts. It's 35 minutes. I always said I wrote my first book um, on a plane. Every time at that time I was going a lot from ESPN to LA. So I was going to call the book Shots Fired from 33,000 feet.
I like
And then
it.
at some point, something happened in the country, and I was like, nah, that's not appropriate or something. But I've always found planes and trains, it's really, you're just really isolated. And I just go to work.
Yeah, so I'm car in because there are no trains from the suburbs of New York that I live in that run as early as we have to be in for breakfast ball. So I go car in and train out. And the train out, you know, it's great because it's a good excuse to get work done. It's a good excuse to veg out.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse to be selfish. There's no quiet cars, so if you need to make a phone call, you can, but I really don't like to. I like to
Yeah.
just kind of do my thing and make it my me time to decompress. And yeah, if you can be productive, airplane productivity is the best because now there's Wi-Fi on planes and you can text and email and be connected to the world, but it's also a very easy lie. Oh, the Wi-Fi was down. My phone wasn't working. And you're like, no one really expects you to be connected at 33,000 feet for whatever reason. So the ability to just completely decompress and unplug from the world is a joyous thing.
I told my wife, we were talking about my happiest place, like when am I happiest? And obviously, when I was a young dad, it would be like hearing my kids laugh or being at the beach with my kids and just seeing your kids have the time of their life at Disney. When I
Yeah.
used to go to Disney, like there's just nothing better than being on a ride with your daughter and she's screaming and you're laughing and it's bad food. That's the most fun I've ever had in my life. But one of my happy places now, I tell my wife, like once a year in the summer, we try to go to Europe somewhere. And I'm going to visit my son in a couple of weeks in he's doing some school in London. And I said, "Hey, I'll come join you. We'll go to Copenhagen for a couple of days. Let's just, and I made him a promise a few years ago, like at least every other year, it's you and I get on a plane and go somewhere around the world. And I told my wife, I said, getting on a good business seat heading to Europe, knowing you're getting free wine, a great movie, sleep, and a meal. I'm like, God, that makes me happy. That's just, and I know I don't have to work for like 10 days. And I used to hate vacations. When you started, I didn't like vacations. I didn't want to be off. And now
No,
it's
well,
like, oh, I love it.
yeah, well, once you're established and you feel like you can take it, and now in a weird way, I've started over because I've transitioned into
Right,
this
right.
new career, this new profile, trying to build a national profile and all of those things. But yeah, at the beginning in radio, I would never take off. Or if I took off for my job in Kansas City, I would fill in Chicago for them on Christmas. Like I would come home and work Black Friday, work Christmas Eve, Christmas Day on the Chicago stations just to get the reps because I was so excited to be on, in the big city and in my hometown. And then when you get the first job in Chicago, you feel like you can't take off. But then when you get like good ratings and success and drive time, then, it wasn't as big of a deal to take off. And now it's easy because they don't let you take off. We do so many shows. It's unbelievable. We did a Thanksgiving show. We did a Christmas Eve show. We're working Memorial Day. We worked New Year's Day. So it's funny, like the cycle of these jobs, it starts over again. But I'm with you, but I don't love flying, but the act of flying to somewhere is the greatest because it's like limitless. Like the flight to Vegas when I was like young, single, and it was like, I have $500 and anything's
Yes.
possible. Like the flight
Yes.
to Vegas in my 20s was like the happiest of my entire life, other than my kids, obviously. Those things that you're
Yeah,
supposed to
no.
do.
Well, that's what I feel about Europe. I'm like, I got 10 days here and I can unplug really quickly when I know I don't work. If I take a 3 day, I take a lot of 3 day weekends in the summer. You never really unplug. If something happens, I
Right.
write it down. I want it for the show on Monday. But so I'll get to my happy place pretty quick. It was two things can be true. Number one is the NBA got $76 billion. They're good.
Yeah,
Number
right.
two, number two, hockey, baseball, MLS, and the NBA regular seasons will never matter as much as they used to because there's just too much content. We're all distracted. Young people don't watch as much television. And I was looking at the game last night between the T-Wolves and OKC, and I was thinking, oh, yeah, this isn't going to work. This is not going to pull a number. The Knicks Pacers will. But I was watching Minnesota OKC, and I'm like, this is Adam Silver's want. This is the league he wants. He doesn't want stacked teams. He inherited that league from David Stern. He's a very, if not idealistic, he's kind of he's very pro employee. Like he listens to his employees. David Stern could bulldoze you. This is what I'm going to do. He had 2 or 3 agents and 5 or 6 owners he was close to. Silver is more about the collaborative and the fabric of the league, but he also inherited a very successful league from Stern. Stern ended up trying to kind of save the league. So David was like Nike, Jordan, Magic Bird, big markets. That's what we're going to do. So it's a different time. But I think this is now the NBA with a new CABA that Adam Silver wanted. But I watched two things can be true. I watched Minnesota and Oklahoma City. I think that will get a dreadful national number. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong, but I also don't care. Like I'm not a television executive. I'm not in business with like I'm not in business with the NBA. I don't care. I think that we should be talking about it on our shows because I think sports fans will watch it. Will they watch it at the exact same clip as the Eastern Conference Finals? No, obviously not. Market size, relevance, people know New York, all of those sort of things. That's all fine. I have a lot of thoughts on last night's game, the Thunder, the discourse, but we can start with your premise about the league that Adam Silver wants. This is a historic time for the NBA. This will be the first time ever that there are 7 different champions in 7 years. Not no back-to-backs, but last 7 years, 7 different
Yeah.
organizations will have won the NBA title. And so I looked it up. Heyday of the NBA, everyone says is, Bird, Magic, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, Lakers, right? 1980 through the early 2000s. If you go from the 1980 NBA Finals, when Magic Johnson came in and played center and replaced Kareem, maybe the most famous game of his career, through just before the first the Dwayne Wade Shaq Heat title. 26 years, 1980 to 2005. 7 different teams won a championship.
Yeah.
So the heyday of the NBA, 25, 26 years, 7 champions. Now 7 champions in 7 years. Dynasties are good for sports. They make people care. You love them, you hate them, you have opinions. They are good for national ratings. But I do think that in the long run, even if there is a 5% dip, a 10% dip in ratings, I do think long term this will be good for the NBA because there will be some belief that I think they will legitimately be able to sell of anybody can win.
Listen to this. I just got this from our Goldie, our producer. Just sent me this. T-Wolves Thunder game 1 down 24% from last year. Least watched game 1 conference finals since 2021. There you go.
Okay, fine. So like small markets, people that not everybody knows yet, but also a blowout. Like let's see how
Yeah.
that goes
Yeah.
over the course of time. Also, this is you're a media observer. Okay. I understand why the Western Conference Finals have to start later than the Eastern Conference Finals. But when it ends up being Oklahoma City and Minnesota, does it have to be 8:30 Eastern?
Right.
Am I crazy? Like the Eastern Conference Finals will start at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if it was Lakers Warriors, I get why they need every minute possible to try to pack the building and respect the people leaving work on the West Coast. And I know that these things are predetermined ahead of time. Eastern Conference games are going to start at 8, Western Conference games are going to start at 8:30. But when it's 2 teams in the Central Time Zone, that game ends after 11 p.m. Eastern on a school night. That can't help. That can't help what you're talking about with the rating. So I wish that they had a little bit more
Flexibility.
flexibility when it comes to scheduling.
At the end of the season, there's only one team that can call themselves NBA champs, only one player that can call themselves the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Well, there's only one electric SUV worthy of the title, the ultimate, the all-electric BMW iX. What I love about the iX is that it delivers legendary BMW performance. I've had several, while its sleek design exudes innovative style from the inside out. So, not to mention how much space and utility it provides. Over 75 cubic feet of cargo space, the iX is completely changing the game with an all-electric SUV. Okay? The greatest legends of sports never compromise any part of the game, so why would you settle for anything less from your SUV? After all, there's only one ultimate, the BMW iX. Everything you love about the ultimate driving machine, electrified. You know, the other thing I thought about last night is that I don't know how many shots Ant took. It was like 13 or something. He didn't shoot.
13. Yeah.
And he's a great player. But this is the difference, how great Michael Jordan was. Jordan last night, probably in a losing cause if he played for Minnesota, would have taken 39 shots. Is that Michael never had a game that I can remember, a big one. Even the flu game where you're like, Michael took 13 shots. His generation, Michael didn't care.
Yeah.
Michael was going to go down. Michael's the most relentlessly competitive person I've ever seen. I mean, Magic, Bird, everybody, LeBron, Steph, it doesn't matter. Is that Jason Tatum, there are times I'm like, is he on the floor? Last night in the second half, I'm like, is Ant playing? Is that everybody's rich in the league? It's a much more, collaborative. I mean, Michael Jordan had no problem saying, "Hey, Republicans buy shoes too." I'm not talking politics. If it'd be hard to say that today as a professional athlete. You get just destroyed by the collective, the media collective. But that's the difference. When people haven't seen Michael play, I always say that Michael never had a game or a moment where you went, "Is Michael on the floor?" I mean, I remember a game against Utah in the finals. I remember a game against Phoenix in the finals. He took a jumper from the angle. It hit backboard and floor. It didn't hit rim. It was a terrible shot. They had games against Utah where he was like 7 for 33. But there was something about everybody being rich and everybody has the same 4 agents and they all like each other, that there is a real sense there's tomorrow. Don't expend your energy. And I watched Minnesota the second half, and I'm like, oh, they're done tonight. They're done tonight.
They were clearly done early. Listen, I will give Anthony Edwards the he went back to the locker room with the ankle injury, and I don't know how much pain he was in. Like
Yeah.
I maybe, right? But here's the thing about last night's game. I was I was appalled at some of the discourse of SGA's a foul merchant, the Thunder aren't watchable, I don't like their brand of basketball. I know he was just announced as the MVP, but he hadn't won the MVP yet. He has no finals appearances. He has no rings. If people are already sick of the Thunder and you're an actual basketball fan, the next 10 years of your basketball viewing are going to be miserable. They're the youngest playoff team in the league. They're younger than the Pistons. Their oldest starter is 27 years old. Shea is 26. Jalen Williams and Chet are like 23 each. And Sam Presti's the best executive in the sport. Their coach was a finalist for Coach of the Year after winning it last year. And they have every draft pick for the next decade. And people are like, SGA's a foul merchant. They talk about him like he's James Harden. He drives to the rim
Yeah.
more than any player in the league. Not this year, not these playoffs. For 5 straight years, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has led the NBA in drives to the basket. Minnesota took 51 threes last night.
Right, right.
Oklahoma City took 21, and the free throw discrepancy was 5. And people were like, oh, the refs are in it for small market Oklahoma City and 0-time MVP SGA. No, that's how he plays.
Right.
And so, like, that game was a blowout. Ant got hurt. There was no reason to watch the fourth quarter of the game. The ratings were down. Okay, fine. But man, I don't understand how people all year can be like, they don't play
Yeah.
defense, like the collective league. The league doesn't play defense, and all they do is shoot threes. And now you have a young, up and coming, historically great defensive team with a guy who scores from everywhere on the floor, and you're like, I hate that too. Like, is anybody satisfied? Like,
Well,
do we have to bring Michael Jordan back from his fishing boat to play? Is that the only way people will not complain during an NBA game? It drives me insane.
hey, so we all make mistakes, but owning up to them is the right thing to do. So, Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula and it did not go over well with their fans. So, Degree's whole thing is it turns up the sweat and odor protection when you turn up the effort. And good thing it does because Cool Rush fans really turned up the effort to bring the original formula back. One guy even started an online petition, and Degree listened. They admitted they effed up. They're bringing back the original Cool Rush scent. They're bringing it back, and it's exactly how you remember it. Cool, crisp, and fresh. It's back in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. There's a reason it's been the number one men's antiperspirant for the last decade. It's the same reason why people were not happy when it changed. So if you've never tried it, it might be a good time to see what the fuss is about. Head to your local Walmart, Target, and try the OG Degree Cool Rush for yourself. Yeah, no, and let me throw a theory at you. I talked about it on my show today. I think you'll like this. So I
Okay.
talked about it for like, as you can do on our show for 4 minutes. I could talk about it with you for 10. So one of the things I love about sports, I think you know this, theories, cultural changes, trying to see them as they're happening in real time, right? So take out the last two. Zach Edey made the all-rookie team. Okay. 3 years ago, it's like, can't play, just a college guy. Why was everybody so wrong? A year ago, Mark Few's like, if he can't play NBA, it's an NBA problem. But Danny Hurley's like, you can't tell me he's not an NBA player. He's the hardest guy I've ever done a game prep for. There's no way we're going to stop him. Mark Few said, all my years at Gonzaga, hardest player to defend. We have nobody in the program. And then he hits. The UConn team that had two guys make the all-rookie team, the big in Portland, and then a Donovan, oh, God.
What, Klingon?
Yes, Klingon, my bad.
Yeah.
And then the kid from San Antonio, Stephen Castle.
Yeah.
So two things have happened in the last 2 years of college basketball. Zach Edey's dominance translated to the NBA, and that UConn team that crushed people, even in the tournament, really was full of excellent NBA players. Why do I say that? Because for the previous 20 years, Guys like Doug McDermott won Player of the Year and were at best rotational players. So why is this happening?
Right.
NIL has saved college basketball. So NIL is keeping guys like Zach Edey, NBA guys, in one more year, or they choose college over G League or international. A story today that Real Madrid and Barcelona's amateur teams, and this Spain has all the great European young players, they're thinking of folding the league because American NIL money is taking all the European kids over here. So what is happening? So this European system that we were so enamored with, oh no, those kids are now going to play college. The G Leaguers are going to play college. What does it do? First two rounds this year, March Madness, highest in 32 years. The quality was much better. Houston,
Yep.
Florida, UConn. Those are NBA players. So we went through about a 20-year cycle, kind of at the end of Grant Hill and those kind of guys, Larry Johnson and all that stuff, right? Those are, if you dominated college, you were going to be a good pro. And then when about 25, 30 years, you're like Jimmer Fredette, Doug McDermott, Tyler Hansbrough. You could dominate college and be a rotational player. And I think it hurt the quality of the game. But between that Barcelona story, between the ratings and Zach Edey and the UConn guys, what you're seeing now is college basketball is a rebirth. That when you're watching it in March and a guy is dominating, so long story.
Yeah.
What does this mean? What does this mean in terms of OKC? They have stockpiled all these draft picks. And we always assumed OKC, Danny, was going to use those picks to get a Giannis. Don't give those picks up. The draft now is going to be like this year's draft. You're like, oh, there's like 7 domestic players in the top 10, and they're all really, really good. Is that the idea that you give out your picks for Giannis? If you don't like OKC now, with all those picks, these are going to be NBA players coming out of college now that can play almost immediately.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And the guy who accumulated the picks happens to have a better record in both eras of what you're talking about of nailing the picks. So, like Sam Presti, everybody has misses, but he has fewer than most. Like he traded for SGA, but on his rookie deal. Like SGA was just available and he traded for him and he sniped him. He traded, this is not a college player, not a young player, so not a perfect example, but like Alex Caruso wins them game 7. Alex Caruso was on the Lakers. They offered him 3 years, $21 million. The Bulls offered him 3 for 37 in restricted free agency. And the Lakers were like, no, we'd rather have Talen Horton-Tucker. So he went to Chicago. Then the Bulls trade Alex Caruso to Sam Presti for Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, nice player, fills up the stat sheet, fun, young, high upside guy. Not saying anything bad about Josh Giddey. But Alex Caruso clearly is a championship pedigree player, elite defensive player. And Sam Presti has approximately 327 extra draft picks. And the Bulls couldn't get one of them in that trade for Alex Caruso. I read that trade and I was like, oh, that's funny. They got Josh Giddey, but like, well, what's the draft pick? And it never came. So Sam Presti is just great at this. He's great at it. And I agree with you. They will keep a lot of those assets. You can only have 12 guys on a team. And like they traded Josh Giddey because there wasn't a spot for him. Like they had too many good young backcourt players that were cheap. That's not a problem most teams have. So I don't think he'll use every draft pick.
That's right.
But he can go out and get any player he wants whenever he decides to cash his chips in. I don't think it'll be for Giannis, but I think it'll be for cheap labor because they want guys on their rookie deal who they can sign to second contracts because free agents aren't historically going to choose Oklahoma City. And he can just say, oh, what's the one thing we're not elite at? 3-point shooting? Who's the best 3-and-D guy in the NBA on a rookie contract? I want him. And he can go get him. Like that's what I don't think people completely understand about what Oklahoma, like if Oklahoma City said we want Giannis, they would win. If Oklahoma City said we want Durant, they would win. if fill in the blank superstar becomes disgruntled and if the Mavericks were like, we're going to hold a bidding war for Luka Doncic and Sam Presti's like, I want him, they would win. They have more assets than everybody in the league, and it isn't particularly close. So I don't know how he'll use the poker chips, but I know that he's more likely than not going to be right. He will prioritize young, cheap labor. And to your point, he's not going to trade as many of the draft picks as people think because he's excellent at drafting.
Yeah. The I was thinking about this the other day as when people listen to this game, one of the Knicks Pacers will be over. And I thought, I think Jalen Brunson has a chance to be the most popular Knick ever. So I'll explain.
Oh, interesting.
The young,
That's a thought.
okay. Any kid under 35 didn't see Walt Frazier play or Earl Monroe play. Eliminate those players. The young demographic, which loves the NBA, didn't watch them play. Patrick Ewing's a center. They don't sell shoes. They don't become coaches. They're just looked at as genetically unique human beings. The greatest of all of them, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was stoic, never a broadcaster, never really a coach, didn't get opportunities. They don't become the most popular player. Shaq is a complete outlier because he's a big personality. But Barkley's still the star of that show. And then you say, well, Bernard King, nice guy, injuries cut short, a great career. Carmelo Anthony, never really delivered in the postseason. Brunson is relatable. He's the size of the average fan. No. Villanova, so you found him in college. He was an East Coast star at Villanova. A lot of Villanova people in New York and Big East fans in New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's totally relatable. Like he's a great clutch shot maker, which, say what you want, that is, fourth quarter drives make quarterbacks and shot makers make Jordan. And the other thing is, the NBA now is moving into a time, you can't stack a roster. And so it's not a coincidence. The four best players on the four best teams are all guards. Because if you don't have a stacked roster and you have a collection of B to B plus players, the point guard will control tempo and touches for everybody and pace. The league is going to become a pace, tempo, point guard league. It's not going to be buying the best wings and centers. You can't anymore. You're just not going to have that anymore. Boston's going to unravel here in the next year. I mean, or at least move off many of their players. Is that when you look at Ewing is a center, nobody saw Walt play if you're under 37 years old. Bernard King injuries. Carmelo Anthony never won. Brunson is going to be the most popular Knick within 3 years. Get ready for more must-watch TV from Vice Sports. They have the show called The Grudge. It's a new series that's going to relive and unpack many of sports' most intense personal and team rivalries, exploring egos, history, high-stakes drama that turn ordinary gameplay into unforgettable battles, delivering something for everybody. Each controversy-laced episode of The Grudge digs into the grievances between teams and top sports personalities in football, basketball, MMA, baseball, hockey, golf. Narrator Will Compton, former NFL linebacker and co-host of Bussin' with the Boys, is going to be joined by a cast of personalities, including retired NFL wide receiver Steve Smith Sr., four-time Stanley Cup champ Darren McCarty, Bobby Valentine, renowned NBA journalist Howard Beck, and others tell the stories of these animosities. So you'll also see nostalgic archival footage, witnesses, fans, players, coaches connected to that week's story. New episodes of The Grudge air every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, only on Vice TV. Go to vicetv.com to find your cable channel.
Okay, I mean, I'm not a New York Knicks historian. It strikes me as unlikely that he's going to be more popular. Like, because if you're just saying, like, no one under 37 remembers Clyde Frazier, it's like, okay, but there are a lot of people over 37. And he won 2 titles. He's on the All-NBA team at 50. He's on the All-NBA team at 75 in terms of, he's one of the greats in the history of the league. And he's on their broadcasts. Like Clyde Frazier, how he dresses, how he presents himself. Like Knicks fans who are young know who Clyde Frazier is. Like,
okay, so I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
Jerry West was the logo, built Laker championships, and Magic was more popular.
That's okay. But do you think that the Knicks are going to win the title?
I think the Knicks under Brunson are going to be a regular conference finals team with chances to get to the finals. New York sports outside of the Yankees historically have been so uneven and so inconsistent. I mean, two of the worst franchises in pro sports historically are the Mets and the Jets. And
Sure.
so you
Well, no,
don't, I
and,
mean,
and listen, the Knicks unite the city, like New York basketball, right? Like
yeah.
they take a lot of pride in the best point guards come from New York and Rucker Park and all of the college and AAU teams and all of the New York basketball royalty stuff, which I love and eat up. I'm like, there's a lot about it in my book. Like I'm all for all of the history of New York basketball. Um, I don't think you can be the most popular Knick if you didn't win a title, and I don't think they're going to win a title. I think Oklahoma City would wax them. And this is I guess, a hot take. Jalen Brunson has become a smidge overrated. A smidge overrated. Because he is crazy likable. Everything you said is true. He won the clutch player of the year. But when I'm
Yes.
watching the games, and I'm staying up late and I'm watching
Yes.
all of the games,
Yes.
I don't know how sustainable this is. He's on it. He doesn't pass.
Neither did Ewing or Carmelo.
Okay, that is true. So maybe he fits right in. But like, listen, he hits every clutch shot. He's totally unafraid. I get why he's a fan favorite. I get why he's loved. He deserves clutch player of the year. He's a beloved Knick. No doubt about all of it. It's totally earned. The guy is not afraid of any moment. He's tough as hell. All of that is true. But you got Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, and I'm watching the ends of some of these games, and he's like, well, Jalen Brunson, he just took the last 10 shots of the game, except for one that Josh Hart got on an offensive rebound on a miss by Jalen Brunson. Like, it just doesn't strike me as a formula to win a championship. I can't think of one where it's like one guy just shoots every single time. No one is his peer at the end of the game, and they're going to win a title. It's exciting. They remind me a lot of one of my favorite teams ever, the 2010, 2012 Derrick Rose era Bulls. Like,
Right.
Tibbs is the coach. The Now Derrick Rose even more local than Jalen Brunson, Chicago born and raised, like state championships in high school, the whole thing. But like, right, the Bulls drafted Derrick Rose, the Knicks trade for Brunson, so it's not complete apples to apples, but it's close enough. Best player is a ball dominant guard, team oriented. Those Bulls teams were better defensively than this Knicks team, but I know the Knicks fans say with Mitchell Robinson healthy, they're actually an elite defensive team, even though they never have been. But it's same coach, really hard-nosed team, beloved point guard who you ride or die with him. And Derrick Rose was unbelievable. Youngest MVP in the history of the league. They were the one seed. And then the only problem was he had to play LeBron James. And so when he played LeBron, it was like, oh, they won game one and then they lose in five. And I think that's what's going to happen to the Knicks. Maybe not until they face the Thunder in the NBA Finals. And so he'll advance a little further than those Bulls teams did. But I don't think you can win an NBA championship this way. I just don't. And I think that you can't be the most popular Knick of all time if you don't put a banner up in Madison Square Garden.
Well, I'm just more optimistic than you,
You
perhaps.
are. You are. I mean, I think they would get crushed by the Thunder.
Well,
I think the Thunder
yeah.
are going to win this championship, and people are somehow going to say that they hate them. I don't know. That's what I think is happening here.
So I'm going to throw this at you. There are some genetic and gender realities that seem unfair to me.
Oh, here
You're
we go.
driving on the freeway. You're driving on the freeway. Be totally honest. If a skinny guy is in a car eating, he's got burgers. You're thinking to yourself, that guy's on the go. He doesn't have time to stop. That guy is a hustler. He is making things happen.
Okay.
A heavy set guy in a car is eating burgers. You're like, and I am too. Oh, really? You can't even drive without eating? I mean, give me a break. Like what? What you can't pull over. You have to. We have no idea about those two people. That is how people view weight. We're all weightists at times.
Okay. Yeah,
Gender.
I'm not saying no to your premise here, Colin. I can't.
Okay.
I love your analogies. Go ahead. I'll never refute
Here's
you.
a here's a gender reality.
Okay.
Men can hate each other. Jordan still holds a grudge against Isaiah. Somehow it makes him more likable.
Yeah.
Men can taunt, can trash talk. If Angel Reese appears to hate Caitlin Clark, it becomes a race topic. It is outrageous. It is unfair. And I'm like, time out. Women athletes can hate rivals too. It's not, to me, I'm like, is it race? Well, hate it used to be a commodity. Like you loved when the Ryder Cup. We hated the Euros. Now everybody's rich. But the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese rivalry, one got the best of the other in college the junior year. The other one got the best the senior year. One goes Midwest small city. One goes big city. One gets more press. I look at it and I think it doesn't bother me that Angel Reese doesn't like Caitlin. Like, by the way, Caitlin's game is fun and flashy. Angel's a rebounder. Like, they're probably got a little built-in animosity. She won't get the press.
I think it's the worst story in sports media. I hate the discourse around it. I think it brings out the worst in everybody. I really do think it's just a lot of people are showing their ass on this story. Of course, what you just said is correct. One of my things, it's a trope, it's a cliche that I like the turn of phrase that I created. Less hate in the world, more hate in sports. Yeah. Sports hate is good. It is objectively good. Now, when it leads to like fights in the stands, okay, fine, someone took it too far. But that doesn't mean that it is a bad thing. Trash talk, rivalries, bulletin board material, lobbying shots in the press, hard fouls, stare downs, the occasional fight. Those things are good. They're good for ratings. They're good for business. They're good for fan interest. They're good for jersey sales. They are good. It is good for the WNBA for there to be sports hate, for there to be rivalries. It is a good thing. That is so objectively, obviously true that I can't believe anyone even dares to deny it. I do think the Bird Magic stuff is a little ridiculous because Bird and Magic, in terms of talents, were kind of equals.
Yes.
This is more like Michael Jordan and Bill Laimbeer. Like, they were rivals. But
that's where it ended.
But they're not really the same type of player, right? They hated each other. They had great moments, but they were not like, no one was like, who carried the NBA to popularity? Michael Jordan and Bill Laimbeer. It was not how we described it. Like, Caitlin Clark is the phenomenon. She's the comet. And like, does that spur jealousy? No doubt. Are there interesting racial components to that story that I think are fair to be discussed for a league that has had great players, white and black, before Caitlin Clark? Why haven't they caught on in the same type of way? Like, I think that there is like fair conversations to be had there. But a hard foul by Angel Reese in a basketball game that like didn't even result in a fight. It resulted in, she said the F word. Like, what the hell is the matter with people? I know. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like, and the we don't need to name the names. Everyone knows the discourse of, who's going. Like, you're talking about people's wives and you're making it personal and then you're bringing all the, just shut up. It's just it's so beneath the industry to like take the discourse of online. You are amazing at not being too online. I give you a ton of credit for it. Nick Wright, it's amazing how he doesn't read his mentions. I still am addicted to my phone. I still read my mentions. I have gotten much better about not letting it bother me and not responding. But it is so very clear that way too many people in our industry formulate their opinions based on the algorithm that they see on X. And it's just complete horseshit. Like, I don't believe that people that go to that basketball game left being like, whew, you know what that was? A race war. Like, it was a basketball. I'm not like it's crazy. And I'm not the biggest WNBA fan. I'm not claiming to have WNBA bona fides or like watching
Yeah.
for years or like
Yeah.
going 10 deep on all of the rosters. So people are like, Parkins, I don't give a shit about your WNBA takes. That's fine. I just know sports and narratives. That is a good thing for business. And people taking their online commentary that is designed to divide us and then making it actually like inform their sports opinions on television when they are multi-millionaire former professional athletes. They don't even realize what they're doing, but it's just very embarrassing. I really do find it embarrassing.
The NBA finals are almost here, and every play could be the one that changes everything. This is the NBA playoffs. Heroes rise, legacies are built, the action never lets up. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, you don't just watch the madness, you live it. I do. Back your favorite team, ride with your clutch time killer, betting the buzzer beaters, the breakout performances, the game winning threes. They have player props, same game parlays. It's how you take your fandom to the next level. If you're new to the game, no sweat. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, takes 90 seconds. Bet $5. That's it. $5. That's it. If your bet wins, you'll score $300 in bonus bets. Pretty easy. Download the app from DraftKings Sportsbook. The code is Colin, Colin. Colin. $300 in bonus bets if a $5 bet wins. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Yeah, it's my take on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese from the beginning is the league was growing, but she's Taylor Swift in tennis shoes. She's not, doesn't have to be the best player in the league. Taylor Swift doesn't have the best voice. Adele does. Like she doesn't have the best voice.
Sure.
There's some visceral connection between young women, middle-aged women, and Taylor Swift that I can't explain. I'm usually good at listening to music or watching sports and going, that's a superstar. I didn't see it with Taylor Swift. There's been Lady Gaga I connected. There have been a lot of artists. Adele.
You a Katy Perry
the first
guy?
time I heard, yeah, when I heard Katy Perry, but like Adele. When I heard Adele, I was like, holy shit, what is that? That's crazy.
Sure.
Lady Gaga did that to me. I remember Garth Brooks years and years ago hearing him and going, it was like new country. It wasn't like, old and my dog and my porch. It was like cool country. And I'm like, Shania Twain. I'm usually pretty good at spotting stuff and going bang. The Taylor Swift up, I can't even explain it now. She got a nice voice. She's really smart, but I can't explain it. Caitlin Clark's not that hard to explain. Holy shit, she's taking shots
Yeah, of
that
course.
some NBA players wouldn't take.
Of course.
I said she's Steph Curry plus Jason Kidd. The 60-foot passes, the 30-foot bombs. You're like, half the NBA would not make those plays. She's a comet because it doesn't look like anything else.
Right, of course. If a player in 5 years started dunking like Anthony Edwards, like we'd be like, "Oh my God, it's unbelievable!" Because we haven't seen it in the WNBA, right? So yeah, I think that part of it is also very obvious. She's the Steph Curryization of basketball has hit women's basketball in a way, and at a moment, and you and I have talked about this months ago now. Like, listen, part of this is ESPN, which the world is changing, cable is changing. Fine. It is still the behemoth of sports television. They promote the shit out of it.
Yeah.
That helps. Like real talented analysts, real talented broadcasters, they're not on ESPN News. Like they're in good time slots on good networks, on ABC, on ESPN, in prime time, on weeknights with a real pregame show and a real postgame show and a real play-by-play guy. And they do a good job on college hoops. And so like they're invested in it and it's a cyclical thing. And they hit this phenomenon. Like the fact that game that was a blowout outrated Yankees Red Sox, that matters. Like
Yes.
that matters. And so yeah, I mean, all the respect in the world to her talent, all the respect in the world to like people who have been WNBA fans for forever and have been like now get to say I told you so. But I wish our media colleagues realized a little bit better that they were being played by the algorithm because they're all athletes. They can't
Yeah.
possibly be offended by that foul. They can't, it's impossible that a bunch of football players were so offended by that foul that they had to make this big of a deal out of it. So eventually they'll need to talk about the basketball. And I think for some people, it's just easier to culture war everything. And I think it's unfortunate.
So I was surprised by the result on the Tush Push vote. So
Me too.
I was I was surprised. So I've stated before that two things matter to the NFL in no particular order: entertainment and safety. Put them in the order you want.
Yeah,
This race
I think your order is correct.
and this violates both. It's ugly television, and it looks like it's going to get somebody hurt. And Cam Chancellor used to jump over kicking teams to block kicks. There was no data that people were getting hurt. But the NFL's like, it looks kind of dangerous. We're going to ban it. Now, kickoffs, there's data, there's more concussions. They've changed it. The horse collar tackle, there's data, it's hurting players. They changed it. But Cam Chancellor jumping over the lines, there was no data that players were just falling to the ground. They just thought in this day and age, it looks like people can get hurt. So that's my thing with the Tush Push. It's bad TV, but it does look like it's not really healthy. I contend it passed for one reason. And it's the same reason sometimes you'll be flying through TikTok and somebody will catch your attention. Tony Robbins is the first in our lifetime that did it regularly. He could captivate you with a rant. I'm going to make you a better person. You're like, who's this guy on late night infomercials with Fran Tarkenton like 40 years ago? And he's made an industry of it. Now there's copycats everywhere. But there are these people that are highly performative. Gordon Ramsay, Tony Robbins. And they're in all walks of life. To some degree, you and I do that for a living. There are politicians that are very performative. And I think Jason Kelsey's the reason it stayed. I think he's kind of a Midwest grinder, salt of the earth, huge brand, totally respected. Owners in this league have listened to players for a long time. They do. They listen to the players, and there are certain players they really like. They like the tough guys in the trenches. And I think he reportedly got in front of the owners and he sold them on it. And I think he flipped about 4 of them. And I think he was an influencer. He had the ability to literally galvanize these guys because 10 were not going to ban it. 10 were absolutely. And like anything else, Danny, there's a third of the league just sitting there thinking, well, I don't know, what's Jerry doing? What's Kroenke doing? What's Kraft doing? I think Kelsey's the reason it stays.
I think that that's totally reasonable, and I'm sure there will be reporting from the meetings on the vote that might very well indicate that you're right. I would only quibble a little bit with your phrasing of like it passed. The vote was to ban it, and they needed 24 votes to ban it, and 22 voted to ban it. Right?
Right.
So like the
narrowest.
the majority of the league did. They just didn't get the super majority that they needed, right? Well over 50% wanted it gone. They just didn't get to the 75% threshold. I think that some of the discourse around this, because there isn't data yet on player safety. I agree with you. It looks like it, but there is not data on it. Jason Kelsey actually, before he came into the lobby for it, had spoken to how much it did feel like it beat him up. So, I think he was doing the Eagles a solid there, frankly. To me, the only argument that should matter is that it's bad television. That's the only argument that should matter. They banned the shift in baseball. Not because it was bad strategy to deploy a shift, because they didn't want to see Kyle Schwarber come to the plate, rip a ball that would be a double, and instead it's an out. So they banned it. In the NBA, they were like, it's not great. if you can just stand there in the lane for 10 seconds and clog up everything. 3-second violation. They banned it. For the good of the game, for the good of the sport, for the good of the flow, for the good of offense, for the watchability of the product. Like we do this all the time in sports. And I know that Eagles fans took it personally because they were the best at it and they created it. But I thought what AJ Brown said just yesterday was the right. He's like, I'm not concerned about it. It's a yard. Like, do we really think that the biggest offensive line in the NFL, with the strongest quarterback in the NFL, with the best running back in the NFL, is all of a sudden not going to win the Super Bowl because their gimmicky rugby play now has to just be an old school quarterback sneak that, oh, yeah, by the way, Tom Brady was excellent at? Like, if Tom Brady can sneak for a yard, not a great athlete compared to Jalen Hurts, I think Jalen Hurts would be just fine without the tush push. So I thought that Philly fans should go the other way with this. Yeah, we created something, and now you said we're too good at it, and we won a Super Bowl, and you're going to ban it? That's on you. We'll win a Super Bowl without it. Like take it as like a source of pride. Instead, they got very defensive, and you're trying to take away
Yeah.
our play, and you're making this just about you. I'm like, I swear to you, if it was the Bears who invented it, I'd be like, that's stupid. It's a dumb in the NFC Championship game, a referee had to get on a loudspeaker and be like, if you jump over the line of scrimmage one more time, I'm just going to award them a touchdown. That is dumb.
Yeah.
When the Bills did it in the AFC Championship game, the spot of the ball, we have 400 HD cameras, and everyone's like, "Where's the ball?" We couldn't tell because there's 20 people swarming to it. So I think it's just objectively uninteresting. And I don't like the whole point of sports is that it's unpredictable, that you don't know what's coming. If
Yeah.
every time you get in that formation, and I know Philly fans are like, well, one time we faked out of it. Okay. If 99% of the time you get in that formation, the exact same thing happens, it's not good television. That should be enough reason for it to be banned, but whatever. Like
Okay.
I
So
just I was passionate about it because I thought it was, and you're a good arguer. You tell me what you think about this. What is to stop someone from doing it 1st and 10 from the 30? Just take the guy in the world who has the strongest legs, make him your backup quarterback, put him under center, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 4, 4th and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 5, 4th and 2, 1st and 10, and just rugby their way down the field. It
well, I
probably won't happen, but normally slippery slope arguments suck. But I honestly do think that if you allow something like this to like really gain steam and
yeah.
everybody starts working on it, like the next iteration of the tush push, everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's taking it too far. Well, then you got to outlaw it now.
Yeah, I think it's such a beating on your offensive lineman. I don't think you would do that unless I think used the scarcity of it is really valuable for even the team that's successful because it's just beating the hell out of your offensive line. I could see that happening in crappy weather. Saquon Barkley gets hurt and you've got to burn 5 plays. That I
Sure.
can see happening. But it is a beat down. It's like the Wildcat. The Wildcat sounded great. But if you have a good quarterback, it would piss him off if you kept snapping to the fullback. Like it wasn't good for the room, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah,
can
no,
see Drew
listen,
Bledsoe. Oh, okay, well, what's the point, right?
Stink as soon as he heard the AJ Brown quote of being like, "Yeah, I don't care, it's just 1 yard." He was immediately like, typical receiver. He just wants a fade. He just wants a fade from the 1 yard line to get more touchdowns. He hates that the ball's never going to him. But yeah, I mean, like, I think eventually someone will get hurt or too many teams will do it, and
Yeah.
this will be up for a vote again in a year or 2 or 3, and it'll get banned. But we got another year of rugby on 0.5% of our plays in the NFL. Okay, that's fine.
So I want to end with this. So you would, and I would admit this too. I've moved around the country. People know that. Generally, when I move around the country, the only sports team that I tend to, it's hard because I love football so much. When I lived in Tampa, I was kind of a Bucks fan. I grew
Okay.
up in the Northwest. I was a Seahawk fan. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a Ram and Charger fan. I try not to be a homer on the air, but it's I know people in the front office. I have contacts there. Now I moved to Chicago. I've already got connections with the Bears, right? So I'm talking to people. And you grew up here. So I've always understood that. Bill Simmons loves the Celtics. You're going to love your teams. I get it, right? And the
Yeah, of
audience
course.
understands. You're still objective. But I said this, right, this week on the show on FS1. I said I'm going to take 5 quarterbacks that we're not going to. I'm not going to take a Justin Herbert, overrated, Jalen Hurts, underrated. I'm not going to take guys on the fringe. I'm going to take Andrew Luck, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. Who else did I take? CJ Stroud. I took somebody else. I took 5 of them, and I said, and I didn't take Mahomes. I took Lamar Jackson. So I said, let's get Mahomes, Allen out. Okay, they're like historically great. Like, so I took 5 guys that none of us are going to argue. They're all great. How long, once they had a competent coach, did it take for you to go, oh shit, that's a franchise guy? So CJ Stroud did not throw an interception until week 6. Pretty obvious he was different. Lamar Jackson won 6 of his first 7. And by the second game, you were wondering if he was even faster than Michael Vick. He was electric. Joe Burrow, weeks 2 and 3, is throwing for 350 yards behind an absolutely atrocious offensive line with a coach nobody liked. Jaden Daniels, weeks 2, 3, and 4, he's completing like 28 of 31. You're like, okay, this is a cheat code. What is going on? And so I went down and through all of them. So now I bring you to Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So again, Goff with Jeff Fisher, Goff with McVay. By week 2, he's throwing for 350 yards. You're like, oh, Jared Goff can play. Yeah, like he's beating Mahomes in a shootout on Monday Night Football. You're like, pretty early in his career, you're like, oh yeah, this dude can play. So first week, my take is good, not great is hard to spot. Real deal and sucks jumps off the page. So week 1, Caleb Williams faces Brian Flores at home. Perfect weather. Let's say he struggles. Brian Flores has been punitive to young quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams is bad. What is your take?
I won't be handling it well, Colin. I'll tell you that. I won't be handling it well. He needs to be very good right away. But here's the thing. Obviously, I watched every down of the Bears last year and have for my entire life. He is good. He's good. Now, it was not easy. It was not always pretty, but I trust my eye test here. If you get sacked 68 times and still have better than a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and your play caller got fired 9 games in to your season, and then you fired your coach, and you had controversy and you lost on a Hail Mary and you had all of that hype and that scrutiny, and the guy who was drafted behind you is having a historic rookie year and goes all the way to the NFC Championship game, and you get your ass kicked and you play all 17 games and like you're still standing at the end of it, you don't suck. Like bad, you said like good, bad, it's a little, he's not bad. He's
Right.
not bad. I'm not worried about bad. I still think the guy's ceiling can be MVP of the league. Like
Okay.
I still think greatness is very likely an outcome here. But yeah, week 1, Minnesota, Monday Night Football, week 2,
Week
Ben Johnson
2.
against his old team. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I will say this. I will say this. It seems like 40% of the years in the last like decade, the Bears have opened with the Packers. I know that's not actually accurate, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst. Any Bears fan will tell you Bears Packers it just is like a different thing. All of our families have some Packers people in it. Like, and for me, it was extreme. My dad's entire family was from Wisconsin. Like, you just you're in weddings with these people, you work with these people, you're neighbors with these people. Like my old radio station's signal like reaches far into Wisconsin. Like you could hear it in Milwaukee. So like it's just like it Bears Packers week one is too stressful. There's too many grand. Like I can handle Bears Vikings week one. I can handle Bears Lions week one. Bears Packers. If Caleb Williams would come out week one and get outplayed by Jordan Love, and they would lose, and he'd throw like two picks, that's just like sky is falling type stuff. So I think I can handle Bears Vikings on Monday Night Football week one. But if he's terrible, I'm not going to be handling it well. It's going to be tough to be neutral. I'll be totally honest with you. That's going to be
Yeah.
unfortunate. But if he's
Yeah.
great, oh, deep dish pizza on TV for everybody.
No, I saw that first game and I went, "Oh God, Flores, what a nightmare!" Flores
Yeah, it's
just
not a great
eats.
spot, but again, like, but it can go the other way. Put up 30. Put up 30. We never mention Shane Waldron's name in Chicago ever again. You know what I mean? Like wasted rookie year. Why did you hire? Why didn't you blow it all up and
Yeah,
start fresh with Kate? Like put up 30 week one, and all of your sins
and
are forgiven, and we're good.
yeah, the other thing, Danny, that wasn't true years ago. There's so many good young offensive coaches now in the NFL. But
Yeah,
it used to be if your first coach didn't work, you were screwed. But like Gino, Darnold, Baker, Tua had Brian Flores. Then he was a Pro Bowler. Goff's first year was not only unremarkable, it was unrecognizable. So the
yeah,
truth is now there are multiple examples. Sam Darnold's a totally different player. It used to be there were like four or five offensive guys that were next level. Like every other staff has the next Ben Johnson or an offensive coach. So, I mean, God, look at, I mean, you go to the AFC alone, it's like, oh, there's Andy Reid and oh, there's Sean Payton and there's Jim Harbaugh in this and Chip Kelly. In the same division, you have those four coaches on staff. So I think we've gotten to a point where if you have a mulligan season, it just, I mean, nobody remembers Goff's first season. He was 0-7, I think. It
yeah.
just
Listen, I mean,
disappears.
in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence showed enough through multiple failed coaches that they still gave him a $250 million contract. They hit on Brian Thomas last year. They draft Travis Hunter this year. They hire Liam Cohen to be their coach, who was a big part of Baker Mayfield's success and Tampa being as consistently great on offense as they've been. Like, he's in year five. Like, does Trevor Lawrence enrage me and way too many fumbles and red zone
Yeah,
interceptions? And yeah, no doubt. Like, I think that like selling stock on Trevor Lawrence has been totally reasonable. But like, his career's not over.
right.
You know, like it's his career is not over. Like if Liam Cohen could do that with Baker, it's definitely on the board that Trevor Lawrence turns this thing around
Yeah.
and rips off 5, 6, 7 really good years and changes the complete narrative of his career. But no, listen, I think it's still much more likely than not that Caleb Williams is great than he is mediocre.
Danny Parkins, FS1. Love him on the volume. Stops by about once, twice a month. As always, this was great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks, Colin. Anytime.